Don't overlook that old, dark, rusty quarter. It could be worth far more than its face value. Today, we reveal the top 3 most valuable commemorative quarter dollars, featuring rare dates, sought after mint marks, and examples found in very fine to heavily worn condition. These forgotten coins can attract serious collector demand, with market values potentially reaching $25,000. So, check your quarter carefully. You might be holding a hidden treasure. Let's get started. First up, imagine finding an old, dark, rusty-looking quarter in your pocket change, turning it over in your hand, and suddenly noticing the date 2006, the letter P, the word Nevada, and the powerful phrase the Silver State, because that ordinary-looking coin could become the beginning of a fascinating journey into American coin collecting. And today we're taking a close look at the 2006 P Nevada State Quarter, a coin connected to Nevada's admission to the Union in 1864 and one of the most recognizable designs from the United States Mint's 50 State Quarters program. So stay with me because we're going to explore its history, design, mint mark, condition, rarity, collector demand, auction possibilities, and the important question every collector wants answered. What could a coin like this realistically be worth in today's market? And before we go deeper, remember that a coin should never be judged only by its age or by how unusual it looks, because professional grading, authenticity, mint, variety, preservation, and actual marketplace demand can make an enormous difference. And that is exactly what makes this Nevada quarter so interesting for collectors and treasure hunters today. The United States Mint confirms that Nevada was honored as the first 2006 state quarter, while the coin itself represents the 36th state in the 50 State Quarter series. Celebrating Nevada's admission to the Union on October 31st, 1864, and that historical connection gives this little quarter a story far bigger than its face value. So if you enjoy discovering valuable coins hiding in everyday change, stay with us all the way to the end, because the most important part is understanding what makes one example ordinary and another example potentially much more desirable to collectors. The history behind this coin begins with one of the most successful modern American coin programs ever created, the United States Mint's 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 through 2008 and introduced 5 different state designs each year, giving millions of Americans the opportunity to hold pieces of American history in everyday pocket change. And in 2006, the first state honored was Nevada, the Silver State, with the Nevada quarter released to the public beginning in January 2006. The United States Mint announced that the Nevada quarter would be available in circulation as well as in rolls and bags from Philadelphia and Denver, and the official launch made this coin an important part of the nation's modern numismatic history. Nevada itself entered the Union on October 31st, 1864, during the Civil War era, becoming the 36th state. And that connection is reflected in the year 1864, prominently associated with the state's history, while the quarter itself carries the modern date 2006, creating an interesting bridge between Nevada's 19th century statehood story and America's 21st century coinage. The Nevada design is especially memorable because it celebrates the state's famous landscapes, symbols, and Western identity, making this quarter much more than a simple piece of spending money. And the Philadelphia P Mint mark give collectors another important identifying feature, because it tells us that the coin was struck at the United States Mint facility in Philadelphia, while the Denver version carries AD, and that distinction is one of the first things serious collectors examine when sorting state quarters. The official mint also included Nevada in the 2006 uncirculated coin set, demonstrating how the design was preserved in specially produced collector examples as well as circulating coins. Now let's look closely at the unique features that make the 2006 P Nevada quarter so recognizable. Because when you have a coin in your hand, knowing exactly what you are looking at is the first step toward understanding its collecting potential. The obverse carries the familiar Washington portrait associated with the Washington Quarter series, while the reverse presents the Nevada state design with imagery representing the state's Western heritage, including horses and the natural landscape associated with Nevada. And around the design, you will find the inscriptions that identify the state, its nickname, its admission year, and the traditional American motto, E pluribus unum, which means out of many. 1. The P Mint mark is located on the obverse and identifies Philadelphia production, while the edge is reeded, and according to PCGS coin facts. The standard 2006 P Nevada quarter has a diameter of approximately 24-30 millimeters, weighs about 5.67 grams, and is made from copper. Nickel composition rather than solid silver, with a recorded Philadelphia mintage of approximately 277 million pieces, which is an important fact when evaluating claims about enormous values, because the standard circulation version was produced in very large numbers. Yet large production does not eliminate collector interest, especially when a coin is found in exceptional condition or possesses a genuine mint error or unusual variety. This is where the excitement begins, because collectors do not simply ask whether a quarter is old. They ask whether it has something special, whether the surfaces are unusually preserved, whether the strike is strong, whether the details remain sharp, whether the coin has an authentic error, and whether its condition places it among the finest surviving examples. Those factors can transform the conversation from face value to serious numismatic interest. The dark, rusty appearance mentioned with a coin like this can also make the story visually exciting, especially for a YouTube audience. But collectors need to understand that dark color, discoloration, corrosion, or heavy environmental damage does not automatically create rarity. And this is one of the most important lessons for anyone searching pocket change. A coin can look extremely old while actually being a modern quarter, and conversely, a coin that looks ordinary can sometimes contain a genuine mint error that deserves professional examination. So if your 2006 P Nevada quarter appears very dark, heavily toned, stained, or rusty, the best approach is to preserve it exactly as found until you understand what caused the appearance, because aggressive cleaning can permanently reduce collector appeal. And a collector should never assume that a strange surface automatically means the coin is worth thousands or millions of dollars. Instead, the real opportunity is to examine the coin. Carefully compare the design with recognized examples. Check the date and mint mark, inspect the lettering, examine the rim, look for unusual doubling or striking characteristics, and then consider professional authentication if something genuinely unusual appears. PCGS records show that ordinary 2006 P Nevada quarters are common in lower grades, but the value rises significantly for exceptionally preserved certified examples, and the PCGS auction record shown for a 2006 P Nevada regular strike reaches $145 for an MS-69 example, demonstrating how dramatically condition can change the market conversation even for a coin that originally circulated for just. When we talk about rarity and collector demand, condition becomes one of the most powerful factors in the entire story, because the difference between a heavily circulated quarter and a coin that survives with nearly perfect surfaces can be enormous. And this is where professional grading services become important. Grades such as MS-65, MS-66, MS-67, MS-68, and MS-69 represent increasingly high levels of preservation for circulation strike coins, with the finest grades being much harder to achieve. And the 2006 P Nevada quarter demonstrates this perfectly. PCGS lists the regular strike issue with a population of certified high-grade pieces and records an auction result of $145 for an MS-69 example, while the PCGS price guide also shows substantially higher guide figures at certain high grades, illustrating that elite condition can create a premium market. But collectors should understand the difference between a price guide, an auction record, and the amount a specific coin will actually sell for, because an auction result is evidence of what one particular example achieved under particular circumstances, not a guaranteed price for every coin. The strongest collector demand generally focuses on coins that combine authenticity, scarcity, high-grade preservation, attractive surfaces, strong strike quality, and a documented certification. And that is why a dark, rusty, circulated coin should not automatically be presented as a $10 million treasure. Instead, the exciting possibility is that a coin discovered in pocket change could lead to the discovery of an unusual error or exceptionally preserved example that deserves further investigation. And that possibility is what keeps collectors searching through rolls, jars, drawers, cash registers, old collections, and inherited coin boxes. Now, let's address the biggest question, the current market value in dollars, because this is where many online coin stories become exaggerated, and the responsible collector needs to separate genuine market evidence from sensational claims. A normal circulated 2006 P Nevada quarter generally remains a common modern quarter and should not be assumed to be worth 20,000s or 15 million simply because it has the P mint mark, the Nevada design, the 1864 historical reference, or a dark appearance. However, certified high-grade examples can bring premiums, and documented auction records provide real evidence of what collectors have paid. PCGS records an auction sale of $29 for a 2006 P Nevada MS 67 example in 2013, while another certified high-grade example has a documented $145 auction result at MS 69, showing that exceptional condition can dramatically increase the value compared with face value. And PCGS's current price information also places meaningful premiums on top grade examples, which means the real treasure hunt is not simply finding any 2006 P quarter, but finding the right combination of date, mint mark, condition, strike, surfaces, and potentially a verified mint error. And this is exactly why headlines claiming that every dark Nevada quarter could be worth 9,000s, 1,100s of 10,000s, or even $20 million should be treated carefully, because a genuine $1 million valuation would require extraordinary evidence and would not be the normal market value for this issue. The strongest way to describe the opportunity is that ordinary examples can be inexpensive, while exceptional certified pieces can command substantially higher prices, and an authentic major error or extremely rare variety could potentially create a completely different market category. But that must be established through professional examination and actual market evidence rather than appearance alone. There is another fascinating chapter for collectors, and that is the difference between the regular circulating 2006 P Nevada quarter and specially produced collector versions, because the United States Mint also produced uncirculated examples with a satin finish as part of its 2006 United States Mint uncirculated coin set. And these pieces can look different from ordinary circulation strikes, which makes identification especially important. PCGS records examples of the 2006 P Nevada satin finish issue in grades such as SP67 and SP68, with documented auction results of $8 and $19 respectively, while regular circulation strike examples have their own separate grading and market history. This distinction is essential because two coins can share the same date and P mint mark while belonging to different production categories. And a collector who can correctly identify the finish, strike, grade, and variety is already several steps ahead of someone who simply looks at the date and searches for an enormous price online. The same principle applies to silver versions because silver state quarters were produced as collector proofs at San Francisco. And those silver pieces are not the same as the standard Philadelphia P circulation coin. PCGS identifies the 2006 S Nevada silver proof as a 90% silver, 10% copper issue, with a recorded mintage of 1,585,008 and documented auction results in the lower tens of dollars for high-grade examples. So if you have a 2006 P Nevada quarter, do not automatically call it a silver coin simply because the design says the silver state. That nickname refers to Nevada's history and identity, not to the metal composition of the ordinary P mint circulation issue. For collectors who want to investigate one of these coins, the best strategy is patience, careful observation, and preservation. Begin by checking the date 2006, then confirm the P mint mark. Inspect both sides under good lighting, examine the rim and lettering, look for unusual doubling, missing details, unusual die characteristics, off-center striking, clip planchets, major die breaks, dramatic struck through areas, or other genuine mint production abnormalities, and most importantly, compare the suspected feature with reliable numismatic references before deciding that you have an error, because many things that appear unusual are actually caused by circulation damage, corrosion, scratches, machine damage, environmental exposure, or ordinary wear if the coin has a dark or rusty appearance. Do not polish it, scrape it, soak it in household chemicals, or attempt aggressive cleaning, because collectors generally prefer original surfaces and professional graders can identify problems that an inexperienced owner might accidentally make worse. If you believe you have a significant error or an unusually high-grade example, professional authentication and grading can be worthwhile, particularly if the coin has strong details and minimal wear, and keeping photographs of both sides, the edge, and close-ups of the suspected error can also help when asking for expert opinions. Remember that the market rewards evidence, not excitement alone, so the strongest collector story is not simply, "I found an old rusty quarter." It is, "I found a 2006 P Nevada quarter, documented its characteristics, preserved it correctly, compared it with recognized examples, and discovered that it may deserve professional evaluation." That is the kind of approach that turns pocket change searching into serious collecting. So, what should you remember about the 2006 P Nevada State Quarter, the silver state issue connected to Nevada's 1864 statehood? The answer is that this coin has genuine historical importance and strong collecting interest as part of the 50 State Quarter series. But the enormous values sometimes mentioned online should never be treated as automatic prices for a normal circulated example. The ordinary 2006 P quarter was produced in a very large quantity, with PCGS listing approximately 277 million Philadelphia examples, yet high-grade certified specimens can command significant premiums, with documented auction results reaching $145 for an MS-69 example. And that tells us something extremely important about modern coin collecting. Rarity is not always about age. Sometimes it is about preservation, population, condition, variety, and demand. The coin in your hand could be worth its face value. It could be worth a premium if it is unusually well preserved, or it could become much more interesting if it contains a genuine major mint error or rare recognized variety. But the only reliable way to move from possibility to value is through identification, comparison, authentication, grading, and real market evidence. And that is why every unusual quarter deserves a careful look before it is spent, because today's pocket change can sometimes become tomorrow's collectible. And even when a coin does not turn out to be a fortune, discovering its history can be just as rewarding. The Nevada quarter connects everyday Americans with the story of a state that entered the Union in 1864, celebrates Nevada's identity as the Silver State, and represents one of the most memorable chapters in modern American circulating coinage. And now I want you to look at your own pocket change with completely different eyes, because the next interesting coin could be sitting in a drawer, a jar, an old cash box, or right in your hand. Check those dates, check those mint marks, examine those surfaces, and never ignore a coin simply because it looks ordinary. If you enjoyed this deep look at the 2006 P Nevada State Quarter, the Silver State, the 1864 historical connection, the P mint mark, collector demand, condition, errors, and today's documented market evidence. Next up, imagine reaching into your pocket and finding an old-looking quarter marked 2000, Maryland, the Old Line State, and a small D mint mark. Then imagine discovering that this little piece of American change connects directly to the history of Maryland's founding in 1788 and one of the most popular coin collecting programs in American history. Today we are taking a fascinating look at the 2000 D Maryland State Quarter, a coin that millions of people have handled without realizing the history represented on its reverse. And we're going to explore why collectors continue to search for this coin, what makes its design special, how condition can influence demand, what genuine errors and varieties can mean for value, and what the current documented market tells us about exceptional examples. Because when it comes to rare coins, the most exciting discoveries are not always ancient coins hidden in museums. Sometimes they are modern American coins that have been sitting unnoticed in pocket change for years. The Maryland Quarter was part of the United States Mint's 50 State Quarters program, and Maryland was the 7th state honored in the series. Released in 2000, with the design celebrating the state's historic identity through the Maryland State House dome and a distinctive arrangement of oak leaves and acorns. While the inscription Maryland identifies the state and the Old Line State reflects its famous nickname, the date 1788 represents Maryland's admission to the Union, and E pluribus unum completes the traditional American symbolism. So keep watching because we're going to separate the ordinary example from the coins that may attract stronger collector attention. And we will also explain why dramatic claims about thousands or millions of dollars should always be connected to a specific rarity, grade, variety, or verified error, rather than simply to the fact that a quarter is old or unusual looking. The history of the 2000D Maryland quarter begins with a remarkable 50-state quarters program, a national coinage project that transformed ordinary American pocket change into a traveling history lesson. From 1999 through 2008, the United States Mint released 5-state quarter designs each year, allowing collectors and the general public to search for every state. And Maryland became part of the program in 2000. The quarter celebrates Maryland's admission to the Union in 1788, making the year 1788 a central historical reference on the design, and the state itself has a long connection to the early development of the United States. The Maryland quarter, therefore, combines modern American coinage with a historical story reaching back more than 2 centuries, and that combination gives the coin a strong place in the collections of people interested in state quarters, American history, and modern United States coinage. The D Mint mark identifies the Denver Mint as the production facility for this particular example, while Philadelphia examples carry AP Mint mark. And the distinction is important because collectors frequently organize state quarters by mint, date, condition, and finish. The Maryland quarter was produced for circulation in large quantities, which means that simply finding a 2000D example does not automatically make it an ultra-rare coin. However, the story becomes much more interesting when a particular example has exceptional preservation, an unusual certified variety, or a genuine mint error, because those characteristics can create a much smaller collecting population and significantly stronger demand among specialists. The unique features of the Maryland quarter make it one of the most recognizable designs from the early state quarters era. On the reverse, we see the Maryland State House dome rising above a carefully arranged group of oak leaves and acorns, creating a design that immediately connects the coin with Maryland's history and natural heritage. The Maryland State House is particularly important because it is one of the most famous historic buildings associated with the state and the early United States, while the oak imagery adds another layer of Maryland symbolism. Around this central composition appear the inscriptions United States of America, Maryland, the Old Line State, 1788, and E Pluribus Unum, while the obverse carries the familiar George Washington portrait used on the Washington Quarter series. The date 2000 appears on the obverse along with the D Mint mark on Denver examples. And the quarter's standard copper nickel-clad construction distinguishes it from the separate silver-proof versions produced for collectors. This means that a coin saying the Old Line State should not automatically be considered a silver coin simply because Maryland has a connection with the word silver in historical or cultural contexts. The ordinary circulating quarter is a clad coin, and collectors need to identify the exact issue before discussing a serious valuation. This attention to detail is essential because the world of modern coin collecting is filled with coins that look similar while belonging to different categories, and a collector who correctly identifies the date, mint mark, strike, finish, condition, and variety has a much stronger foundation for determining whether a coin deserves professional attention. Condition is where the story becomes especially important, because the 2000D Maryland quarter exists in enormous numbers, yet truly exceptional examples are much harder to find than ordinary circulated pieces. A coin that has spent years moving through pockets, cash registers, vending machines, and coin jars could develop scratches, contact marks, flattened details, dull surfaces, discoloration, and other signs of circulation. While an uncirculated example with bright, original surfaces, sharp, design details, and minimal marks can attract much greater collector interest. The highest certified grades are particularly important because modern coins can be plentiful in general, while the population of coins achieving elite grades becomes increasingly limited, and this creates an important principle in modern numismatics. Rarity can come from condition as well as from mintage. A coin does not have to be centuries old to become desirable. Sometimes the challenge is finding one that survived the production and circulation process in nearly perfect condition, Collectors also pay attention to strike quality, surface preservation, luster, eye appeal, and certification. And when an example combines several of these characteristics, it can become substantially more interesting than an ordinary circulated quarter. This is why someone searching pocket change should look beyond the date alone, because the real collecting opportunity lies in identifying the exceptional example, documenting it carefully, and determining whether it belongs to a recognized high grade, variety, or error category. Now we reach the question everyone wants answered. What is the current market value of the 2000D Maryland quarter? And the answer requires an important distinction between a normal circulated coin and an exceptional certified specimen. Ordinary examples are generally not automatically worth 25,000s or 16 million Zeta dollars. But high-grade examples and verified varieties can command premiums far above face value. PCGS CoinFacts records a 2000D Maryland quarter regular strike with an auction record of $1,495 for an MS-68 example, demonstrating that an exceptionally preserved coin from this issue can reach a genuinely impressive market level. PCGS also lists the issue's regular strike population and market information across different grades, showing how dramatically condition can affect the collector landscape. This $1,495 auction result is especially important because it gives collectors a documented market reference rather than simply an internet rumor, and it demonstrates why a quarter that originally entered circulation at a face value of 25 cents can eventually become a four-figure collectible when the right combination of grade and demand is present. However, collectors should understand that an auction record represents a specific coin sold under specific circumstances and is not a guarantee that every 2000D Maryland quarter will receive the same amount. The exciting point is that exceptional examples can have a very different market story from ordinary circulated examples. And this is precisely why checking your pocket change can be worthwhile, especially when you find a coin with unusually strong details, attractive surfaces, very little wear, or a possible mint-made error. The possibility of errors and varieties adds another major layer of excitement to the 2000D Maryland quarter, because mint errors can occur when something goes wrong during the production process, and genuine major errors can become highly collectible when they are rare, dramatic, and clearly identifiable. Collectors may investigate possibilities such as off-center strikes, clip planchets, broad strikes, die breaks, struck through errors, missing or unusual design elements, and other recognized mint abnormalities. But this is where careful research matters, because damage that happens after a coin leaves the mint is not considered a mint error. Scratches, dents, discoloration, chemical damage, machine damage, corrosion, and alterations can sometimes look dramatic but do not necessarily create additional collector value. The strongest potential error coin is one where the unusual feature is consistent with a known mint production process and can be confirmed by experienced specialists or a professional grading service. And if an unusual Maryland quarter appears to have a significant mint error, authentication can become particularly valuable because certification provides an independent assessment of what the coin actually is. Collectors should also remember that not every doubled-looking letter or unusual mark is a valuable double die, and not every missing detail represents a rare mint mistake. The goal is to identify genuine characteristics rather than simply search for any imperfection, and when a legitimate error is found, the combination of rarity, visual appeal, demand, and certification can make the coin much more exciting in the marketplace, which is why experienced collectors examine their state quarters carefully instead of spending them automatically. There is another important category that collectors should understand, and that is the difference between regular circulation strikes and special collector finishes, because the United States Mint produced state quarters in several forms, including proof and uncirculated collector versions, and some examples were struck with special finishes that can have different collecting populations and market values. The 2000 Maryland quarter also exists as a proof issue, including copper-nickel clad proofs and silver proof versions produced for collectors, and these should not be confused with the ordinary D-Mint circulation strike. The silver-proof Maryland quarter was produced at San Francisco and carries the S-Mint mark, while the D-Mint mark indicates Denver production for the regular circulation issue. So if you discover a 2000D Maryland quarter, the first question should be whether it is a standard circulation strike or another recognized category. After that, you can examine the condition, surfaces, strike, and possible varieties, and this careful classification can make a major difference when researching market value. A collector who sees a quarter and immediately assumes it is a rare silver coin may overlook the more important information actually visible on the coin, while a collector who carefully records the date, mint mark, finish, grade characteristics, and suspected error can build a much stronger case for professional evaluation. This is why knowledge is one of the most valuable tools in coin collecting, because the difference between an ordinary quarter and a valuable collectible is often hidden in details that become visible only when you know exactly what to look for. If you have a 2000D Maryland quarter and want to investigate its potential, start with simple observation. Use good lighting and examine both sides of the coin without touching the surfaces unnecessarily. Confirm that the date is 2000 and that the mint mark is D. Then look closely at the Washington portrait, the lettering, the Maryland State House, the oak leaves and acorns, the rim, and the overall strike. Check whether the coin shows significant circulation where or whether it appears uncirculated. And if it looks exceptionally sharp, preserve it rather than cleaning it, because cleaning can permanently affect the appearance and collector desirability of a coin. Do not polish the coin with household products. Do not scrape away dark areas, and do not attempt aggressive chemical treatments simply because you believe the coin may be valuable. Instead, preserve it in a suitable holder and compare it with reliable numismatic references if you suspect a major error or believe the coin could qualify for an unusually high grade. Professional authentication and grading may be appropriate, particularly when the potential market value is significant. Photographs can also be useful when asking knowledgeable collectors for opinions, but the strongest confirmation comes from established numismatic expertise. And remember one very important rule. Never assume a coin is worth thousands or millions simply because a video or social media post gives it an enormous headline value. The real market is determined by identifiable characteristics, actual sales, grade, rarity, demand, and authentication, which means careful research can protect collectors while also helping genuine discoveries receive the attention they deserve. The 2000D Maryland State Quarter remains a fascinating piece of American history because it brings together the year 1788, Maryland's identity as the Old Line State, the historic Maryland State House, the oak leaves and acorns, the Denver D mint mark, and the enormous cultural impact of the 50 state quarters program. And while the standard coin was produced in large quantities, exceptional certified examples prove that modern state quarters can reach meaningful collector prices, with a documented PCGS auction record of $1,495 for an MS-68 2000D Maryland quarter. The most important lesson is that value is not created simply by age, but by the combination of rarity, condition, variety, error status, eye appeal, and collector demand. So if you have one of these quarters in very fine condition, it can certainly be worth examining, especially if the coin has unusual characteristics or stronger than expected preservation. But the biggest opportunity comes from finding an example that stands apart from the millions of ordinary pieces. And that is why pocket change hunting remains so exciting, because the coin in your hand may be common, or it may have characteristics that deserve a closer look, and only careful identification can reveal the difference. The idea that modern American pocket change can sometimes produce a surprisingly valuable collectible is one of the reasons the hobby continues to attract new collectors, and the Maryland Quarter is an excellent example of how a small coin can carry a huge story from 1788 statehood to the modern state quarters era, from everyday circulation to the possibility of a four-figure certified auction result. So before you spend your next quarter, turn it over and look carefully. Check the year, check the mint mark, study the design, inspect the condition, and pay attention to anything genuinely unusual. The 2000D Maryland Quarter may look like ordinary pocket change, but its connection to Maryland's history and the state quarters program makes it a fascinating collectible. And exceptional examples can command far more than their original face value when they meet the right combination of condition and collector demand. The documented $1,495 MS-68 auction result shows that the market can reward extraordinary preservation. Next up, have you ever looked at an ordinary quarter in your pocket change and wondered if that small piece of American history could be worth far more than its 25-cent face value? Today, we're taking a close look at one of the most interesting coins from the famous 50-state quarters program. The 2005 California quarter featuring John Muir, Yosemite Valley, the California condor, the historic date 1850, and the words E pluribus unum. And if you have one of these coins, especially one carrying the P mint mark, you should not rush to spend it before checking its condition, surfaces, strike, and possible errors, because collectors study these details very carefully. The California quarter is an important piece of modern American numismatic history, and high-grade examples, certified examples, and genuine varieties can attract substantially more attention than an ordinary circulated quarter. So stay with me until the end, because we're going to explore its history, design, rarity, condition, collector demand, current market values, auction potential, and the important checks every collector should make before deciding what this coin is really worth. And remember, the value of a coin is determined by the exact variety, condition, certification, eye appeal, and documented market activity, not simply by the fact that it looks old or unusual. The story of the 2005 California quarter begins with the United States Mint 50-state quarters program. One of the most successful modern American coin programs, California entered the Union on September 9, 1850, becoming the 31st state, and that historic statehood date is represented directly on the reverse of the quarter by the inscription 1850. The California design was officially released on January 31, 2005, and the United States Mint described the coin as honoring California, John Muir, Yosemite Valley, and the California condor. Making this quarter much more than an ordinary circulating piece, is a compact historical portrait of one of the most recognizable landscapes and conservation stories in the United States. The Philadelphia Mint produced 257,200,000 examples bearing the P Mint mark, while Denver produced 263,200,000 examples bearing the D Mint mark, which means the ordinary P issue is not scarce simply because it has a P mark, but the search becomes much more interesting when collectors examine exceptional condition, unusual varieties, and authenticated mint errors. The reverse of this quarter is especially attractive because it presents naturalist and conservationist John Muir looking toward Yosemite Valley, with a massive granite landscape behind him and a California condor soaring above the scene. The inscriptions California, 1850, John Muir, Yosemite Valley, 2005, and E pluribus unum complete the design, while the obverse carries the familiar George Washington portrait with United States of America, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and quarter dollar. The coin has a coppered nickel-clad composition, weighs 5.67 grams, measures approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded edge. These specifications are important because they allow collectors to compare an example with known, genuine pieces and to identify coins that deserve closer examination. The P Mint mark identifies Philadelphia production. And for collectors who enjoy American history, the combination of California statehood, John Muir, Yosemite, and the condor gives this issue a strong historical identity that continues to make it popular within state quarter collections. Now let us talk about the features that can make a normal California quarter much more interesting to the collecting community. First, look carefully at the P Mint mark on the obverse, then examine the date 2005, the lettering, the edge, the major design elements, and the surfaces under good lighting. Collectors pay close attention to strike quality, luster, contact marks, scratches, discoloration, and the preservation of the highest points of the design. An exceptionally sharp coin with strong original surfaces can be far more desirable than a heavily circulated example, and professional grading can provide another important level of confidence. PCGS records the 2005 California quarter as a regular strike issue and lists examples reaching very high mint state grades, including MS-68, which demonstrates that the upper end of the condition scale is where the most exciting collector competition can develop. One of the most important subjects connected with the California quarter is the possibility of errors and varieties. And this is where collectors need to be especially observant. Some circulated examples have been associated with the well-known weak or missing T appearance in "I in God We Trust," sometimes described by collectors as the "I in God We Rust" variety. However, a damaged, corroded, scratched, or worn coin should not automatically be called an error. Genuine mint errors are created during the manufacturing process and need to be distinguished from environmental damage that happens after a coin leaves the mint. This difference can completely change the collecting significance of a piece. Therefore, if a rusty-looking California quarter appears unusual, the best approach is to preserve it as found, photograph both sides and the edge, avoid polishing or cleaning it, compare it with authenticated examples, and consider professional attribution if the feature appears genuinely unusual, because cleaning or aggressive restoration can remove the original surfaces collectors want to see. The phrase "rare coin" can create enormous excitement, but in serious collecting, rarity has to be connected with measurable evidence. The ordinary 2005 California quarter had a very large mintage of 257,200,000 pieces. So an ordinary circulated example is not a $1 million coin simply because it has the P mint mark or because it has become dark, rusty, or heavily worn. What creates stronger collector interest is a combination of scarcity, exceptional grade, certified condition, recognized error status, strong eye appeal, and actual market demand. This is why two coins carrying exactly the same date and mint mark can have dramatically different values. A worn pocket change example can remain close to face value, while a superb certified example can bring a much larger premium. NGC currently lists values across a broad range of grades and shows that certified high-grade examples can reach significantly higher prices, including values around $125 of the upper level shown in its guide. While the exact selling price can vary according to grade, certification, auction competition, and timing. This is also where the idea of a rusty condition becomes important. A natural brown, dark, or unattractive appearance caused by environmental exposure is generally not the same thing as original mint toning, and corrosion or surface damage normally does not create value by itself. Nevertheless, an unusual damaged coin can still become interesting if the damage has revealed a genuine mint-made feature, or if specialists determine that what looks unusual is actually a recognized variety or error. Therefore, never assume that a coin is valuable simply because it is old-looking. Instead, ask what exactly makes it different. Is the difference part of the original striking process? Is it present consistently in the correct location? Can it be documented? And can the coin be authenticated? That is the professional way to turn excitement into a meaningful valuation. And it is also why collectors should never clean a potentially important coin, even when its appearance seems unattractive. So, what is the 2005 California John Muir Yosemite Valley quarter worth in the market today? The honest answer is that there is no single price that applies to every example. Current reference values show ordinary circulated examples around face value to modest premiums, while uncirculated and high-grade examples can move into several dollars, and professionally graded top-condition examples can reach substantially higher levels. USA Coin Book currently gives an estimated range of approximately $0.49 to $6.25 or more, depending on condition, while NGC shows a much broader progression through certified grades and reports examples at the upper end reaching about $125 in its price guide information. These figures demonstrate why condition matters so much, but they also demonstrate why claims that every rusty 2005 California quarter is automatically worth 50 thousands, 30 hundreds of 23 thousands, or 15 millions of dollars would not be supported by the established market data. The genuinely exciting opportunity is finding an authenticated high-grade example or a significant mint error that has a documented collector market. At the same time, collectors should understand the difference between a sensational asking price and a genuine market value. An online listing can advertise a coin for thousands or even millions of dollars, but an asking price is not proof that a buyer has actually paid that amount. Real market value is much stronger when supported by completed auction results, recognized price guides, certification records, and comparable sales for the ordinary 2005P California issue, established guides. Place normal pieces far below the sensational million-dollar claims sometimes seen online, while exceptional certified coins and genuine errors can command premiums because collectors compete for the specific characteristics they want. So if you believe your coin has an extraordinary error, an unusually high grade, or another important feature, the strongest path toward a serious valuation is authentication and comparison with documented sales rather than relying on a dramatic internet claim. If you find a 2005P California quarter in your pocket change, the first thing to do is keep calm and examine it carefully. Do not scratch it, do not scrape the surface, do not polish it, and do not use chemicals to make the coin look newer. Instead, place on a clean, soft surface and inspect both sides under bright light. Check the P mint mark, the 2005 date, the lettering, the John Muir figure, Yosemite Valley, the condor, the Washington portrait, the edge, and especially any unusual feature that appears to be part of the strike itself. Next, compare the coin with trusted references from established grading and numismatic organizations. If the feature appears significant, professional authentication can become worthwhile because certification can separate an ordinary damaged coin from a coin with genuine collector importance and for a potentially valuable error. Keeping the coin in its original condition is one of the smartest decisions a collector can make. For collectors building a state quarter collection, the California issue is also a strong historical addition because it represents the Golden State in a nationally recognized program and combines several powerful American symbols in one design. John Muir represents conservation and the preservation of natural landscapes. Yosemite represents one of the country's most famous national park environments. The California condor represents an important conservation story, and the 1850 inscription connects the design directly to California statehood. That combination gives the coin enduring educational and collectible appeal, and high-grade examples become especially attractive to collectors who want complete state quarter sets with matching quality across the series. The key is to focus on evidence, preservation, authentication, and documented demand, because those are the factors that turn an interesting quarter into a serious numismatic collectible. So if you have a 2005P California quarter showing John Muir, Yosemite Valley, the California condor, 1850, 2005, and E pluribus unum, do not ignore it simply because it looks like an ordinary piece of pocket change. Examine it carefully, protect the surfaces, verify the mint mark, study the condition, and look for genuine mint-made characteristics. The ordinary circulated coin generally remains close to its face value, but the upper levels of the market show that exceptional condition, professional certification, and legitimate errors can create meaningful premiums, with current references showing ordinary examples in the cents to several dollar range and exceptional certified examples reaching much higher levels, including around $125 in NGC guide information. The most important lesson is that the value is in the exact coin you have, not simply the date and design. And this is exactly why pocket change can be so exciting. Every quarter gives you a chance to discover a piece of American history, and the 2005P California quarter is one of the most recognizable state quarter designs ever produced. Whether your example is a circulated coin, an attractive uncirculated piece, a high-grade certified specimen, or an unusual coin that deserves professional examination, learning how to identify the difference is what makes coin collecting so rewarding. Remember, never confuse a huge internet asking price with a confirmed auction result, and never clean a potentially important coin before it has been examined. If you enjoy discovering rare coins, valuable quarters, mint errors, American coin history, and hidden treasures in everyday change, make sure you stay connected with the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more rare coin discoveries. Share this video with other collectors, and leave a comment telling us whether you have ever found a 2005P California quarter with an unusual feature, a high-grade appearance, or an interesting error. Keep checking your change, because sometimes the most fascinating piece of American history can be sitting right in the palm of your hand.